This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/Mapper Forward to find out how you can become a member today. Welcome back to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. Today we've got Dan Yee joining us again. We are talking about profitability in cafes today. We want to explore one question today. The question is, are cafes profitable? And how profitable are they really? Like, as we dissect that question. In the last episode, Dan, I said to you, were you surprised about how little profit there is in coffee? And you said, yeah, you were. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I guess if you, it's funny, if you listen to enough, well, they happen annually. And you can pick a TV channel who's going to go or write a report on the cost of a cup of coffee. And they're going to be like, beans plus blur and this and that. And, you know, your cup of coffee only costs them
20 cents.
27 cents. And they're charging you $4.50. So they're just running, just taking bags of coin to the bank. I'm like, okay, you have no idea.
Yeah, let's have a conversation.
And licenses and, footpath, paying for renting space out there and paying your staff fairly and ginormous crazy rents in Sydney and everything.
Labour costs, the increasing price of labour costs are ridiculous.
Everything down to, and then in a pandemic, you buy a ceramic cup for say $8, and how many times is that being used to make a coffee and going out and getting washed?
Yeah,
hundreds. A takeaway cup which you're paying for once and it's being chucked out.
Yep.
In a pandemic, that's all that was. And then because people were ordering many coffees, they also had takeaway trays. And so that doesn't magically appear, and that's not given to you by the government for free. All these little costs. We had to buy more chairs for outside. All these little costs. So is making a coffee a profitable business? It can be. I just think people think it's a lot easier than it is. If you want to do it with, previously we were chatting about integrity, and which is again really hard. So the cheapest way to make a coffee would be to, if you were purely going on not integrity but selling out and making most profit and blah blah blah, you would get really average coffee. I'd probably roast it really dark to roast out all the defects. I'd probably get a bigger size cup to put more milk in on top of it. I'd probably get a styrofoam, non-recyclable, non-compostable cup. I'd probably get a plastic lid that was not compostable, not recyclable or anything as well. I would use cheaper milk. I would use cheaper machinery. I would find staff who were desperate, out of desperation, would work for you because they haven't been given a chance anywhere else, and I could exploit them. There's so many things that you could cut corners on. And I would just market it really well and call it specialty coffee when it's obviously not. And you can make heaps of money that way. That's a lot of places. And obviously that's a great business model for filling your pockets. But, and most people, that's the other thing, most people don't know, to be honest.
But I'd love you to finish that thought. But why wouldn't you do that?
Again, I didn't get into coffee to make loads of money. I would have stayed at my old job and as a lighting consultant and just sat at a desk, and it wasn't why I got into it. I got into coffee for the community, for quality, searching out quality, whether that is in the quality of the green coffee, the quality of how we're roasting, the quality of how we're making that coffee, the quality of service and hospitality, the quality of machinery we're using, the quality of the experience that we're giving people. That's why I'm in it. Yeah, don't go into coffee and wanting to do it at a pointy end if you want to make stacks of cash. It's just not a thing. It's yeah. No, I mean the other part of our business, we had Shoji and I had a really funny business plan, and by funny I mean wasn't very good.
Okay.
As far as business plans go, it was built up on a whole lot of ideals. But with that, so we had a whole lot of ideals. We just wanted to make coffee. We wanted to do it how we, select the coffee, roast it how we want, and make it how we want. And only coffee in a space, and just serve coffee to people. And hopefully charge as a result of actually specializing in something and not just pretending. But we had a whole lot of fallbacks too. We could start doing avo on toast. We could start doing food. We could start doing teas. We could start doing value add stuff. We could start pimping ourselves out and putting all our accolades out there and the things we've won and things we've been part of and things we've competed in. Like, we didn't want that. I guess where Shoji had been previously, he's a personality. He's a personality, and that's a great thing. Like, getting the attention from that and having the accolades and stuff is great. But he kind of got to. I'm speaking for him now. I'm presuming from what I know of him, he got to a point where he actually just wanted to learn heaps more about coffee and quality and whatnot, and and sometimes the only way to do that is to go out on your own or go work for someone else, which happens, and that's fine. I get it. Like, if I had Shoji as my, superstar barista, and his personality and his laugh, his intoxicating laugh that makes other people laugh.
He's a badass.
Sure, I'd totally just put him out the front there and let him go for it. I get it. It makes sense. But what were we talking about again?
You've got lost in Shoji's
lost
previous
in Shoji
life.
land. I know, it's such a dream.
It's so easy to get lost in Shoji
so
land.
It was easy to, I guess we didn't want to fall back on a whole lot of stuff that we'd done in the past. We wanted to, even when we opened, so we had Broadsheet up the road. So, they let
you guys got
everyone
lucky with a lot of the press that you got.
Well,
it was well deserved.
We also really didn't tell them. So Broadsheet were up the road. Their office was up the road at the time. And they were coming down while we were building and blah, blah, blah. They're like, hey, let us know when you're open. We'll write a thing about you and take photos. So we opened on Boxing Day, 7 odd years ago, which I don't know. I guess it's like a thing now that we open places on public holidays. That's not intentional. It just happens. We actually, that was our official opening day. We actually opened a few days before Christmas, which is a great time to open a cafe, by the way. But we opened, we hadn't even finished building, but we could make coffee. And so Shoji and I were in there one day, and we just opened the doors, and then we just stood there. We didn't even tell people we were really open. But we thought, let's just put it on our own personal Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we're doing this. Shoji and I, Dan and I are doing this. You should come drink coffee. I should make it. We didn't charge it. We weren't charging for coffees back then. And we pretty much had it was all industry people for the first few weeks, which was kind of cool. There's people we love making coffee for. We know they understand the integrity. They see the scale of integrity in selling out. And hopefully they pitched us in a place where they're doing what we would love to be able to get away and do. They won't last. That's what probably weren't thinking about. Actually, no, 100% people were thinking that at the time.
But Dan,
they told us.
You can see why, because most places won't last doing what you guys did.
Yeah, and that's why, again, like I say, we feel like we're getting away with it. And our loose business plan that I was saying, we had a plan that if all things fell into place, it would work. And when we opened those doors, we had our fingers crossed, we had our toes crossed, we had everything crossed, and we were just like, we hadn't even finished building. It still looked like a construction site in there, but we just opened. And what was really great, which we probably underestimated in a way as well, was the actual local community of Surry Hills.
Yeah.
They're the people we love. Like they're our bread and butter. They're the people we see every day. They're the people, who for us, for them, we are the people who ask them every day, "Hey, how are you?"
Yep.
The only people in their
It's
life.
a neighborhood cafe in every sense of the word, even though it's in the city. It's ish, but it's still a neighborhood cafe for all intents and purposes. And you guys give a shit about the people that go there.
Yeah. We just, it gets harder as you get older and grumpier. But yeah, I do generally like care about everyone.
Dude, you're still in your early 40s. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Things are definitely harder now than they used to be.
That's just the world in general.
Yeah, I mean, even as far as talking profitability of cafes go, one thing that one measure that we probably have learned over time was productivity of the staff we do have, and taking care of them. I don't know how you measure how well a person's headspace is, or where they're at in life is, and obviously it's a dynamic thing and everyone's different, but just taking care of our staff and taking care of ourselves. So Shoji and I started paring back the days we were working in the shop. So at the moment, we're both working 2-ish days in the shop a week only.
That's awesome.
And that's not that's not because we just want to step back and pay people to do it. It's actually, we don't have plans to take over the world and open 20 shops, 40 shops, 3 shops. We don't have those aspirations. We just want to do what we do. A big part of, I think both of the way we think is to just be good at something for really long. Maybe it's probably more shoji in the Japanese ethos, mindset. But just be good at one thing, and that's fine. And we're trying to get longevity out of us.
Right.
Making coffee every day is exhausting, and being on your feet for 70 hours a week is not good for you. I don't think, not behind a machine. Technology has helped. And so we were kind of like, look, we need to get longevity out of our bodies. So we literally having acupuncture and remedial massages, not because we enjoy it, but because we need it. But we also pared back how often we're working on the machine to work longer.
Extend the viability of your
more
bodies.
Into the future. Yeah, and also along with that, that's just us. And as a result of that, we started, when we pared back those days, we became I'll be more invested into the business.
You got your joy back for doing it?
We got our joy. We enjoy, I turn up to, I look forward to going to work. It's not just because I have a 6-month-old and I need to get away sometimes at all. I love
maybe a little bit, maybe a tiny little bit.
But it is good just to have that headspace, to I look forward to going to work. I love the people I work with. I love my customers. They're awesome. Customers is an interesting one through COVID as well, which I can talk more on.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that too, because not only and let's do that in the next episode, because the customers I saw customers change in the US and I've seen it change here. So let's talk about that, because I wondered, and now this is gonna end up being a whole other conversation. But did you get people say, "I want to open my own cafe now that I've been fired from my corporate job? I think I should open a cafe."
Yeah, so that was a huge thing, especially in our area. So
Right.
where we are in Surry Hills, we saw a big transition. I reckon like more than half of the people who are renting in our part of Surry Hills,
Left.
probably even more than half, like 70%, I reckon, left.
Yeah.
In the first 3 months of COVID.
Wow.
And then a whole lot of people moved back, who were moving back from overseas, New York, London, lots of people from London. They just moved back, and where they were
Expats
living
coming back home, like me.
Yeah, who were doing probably, like a lot of them were probably, that we've noticed, were doing pretty well in their field overseas, and had the money to like fork out for crazy rents in Surry Hills. And as a result had a bigger disposable income, I think, maybe. I don't know, this is what we've sort of noticed.
Yeah.
And then lots of people going, sea change time, let's switch out and like think about opening our own cafe. Or, hey, do you want to open a cafe together? I've got heaps of cash and you guys have the know-how.
That question, man.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've had to turn that down. No.
Yeah.
Let's explore that in the next episode, because that's a really, really interesting thing that we can do. All right, let's do that. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.